Kings of War or not to Kings of War? That's the question. I'm going to do this video on, should I go ahead and go into Kings of War? And I'm probably going to end up going into Kings of War. Got myself a rule book this weekend, and I'm going to try this game out as soon as I can find some opponents. Because of what Games Workshop did, it's kind of hard to find anybody wanting to play any game for that matter. Even the 40K players have started to lose their trust in Games Workshop around here. I don't know how it is around everywhere else, but that's what's going on here. Because I don't know if Games Workshop knew this, but a lot of 40K players actually have fantasy armies. And the only reason why they didn't play it as much as they wanted to play it is because, well, they did not really, back the product. So anyway, I'm going to try out Kings of War. I just got this new rule book, and it's so refreshing to have only 3 pages of rules, of real rules, and everything else is, how does the table look, and theming the table, and all this other stuff. I'm going to look further into it, but so far I like it. The models have some works. They have some ways to go with their models, but they're getting there. But anyway, it would be a great game to move into because, well, the cost of entry for fantasy players is $20, because that's how much the rule book is, and you already have all your army because they've pretty much taken every army from Games Workshop and have found a way to implement it into their own version of the game. Not to say that they're stealing from Games Workshop, by all means they're not. It's just another man's garbage. One man's garbage is another man's gold. And it's funny how for 10 years they didn't have another Beastman book or a Bretonnian book, but in less than 6 months, Kings of War have picked up Bretonnians and Beastmen and have reworked them and made them viable in less than 6 months. So that'll tell you something right there. All of you people who are still kind of Games Workshop fanboys. I can't stand Games Workshop right now. I really can't. I mean, I want to buy some. I even wanted to go to the store and buy some Blight Kings that are still on the shelves, and they've made me so angry that I don't even want to buy those models because it almost seems like I'm giving them money, and they anger me so much that I don't even want models that kind of entice me a little bit. I just don't want. I don't even want to paint them. It's like touching Dookie. For all of you Caucasian people, Dookie is what black people call feces. But yeah, that's what I feel like. I'm touching feces when I buy their stuff. Great looking models, don't get me wrong, but at the same time, it's like buying food from a restaurant that scored less than 80% on the. You know what I mean? I mean, it probably is delicious, but at the same time, there's probably fecal matter in it, and you probably don't want to eat it. And this is how I feel about Games Workshop. And then I look at the models for AOS, and they turn my stomach. It really does. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and try this Kings of War thing out. I'm still going to produce from time to time 8th edition games. I may even have a couple of what they call 9th edition games in there too. It depends on how they pick it up around here. If they don't really pick it up around here, there's no real reason for me to pick it up. I mean, in my opinion, what the problem with 9th Age is that it's ETC. It's an ETC rule set, and I really didn't like the ETC comp. Not ETC. It's a Swedish comp rule set. And I don't really like that at all, really. And in actuality, now that I think about it, it is a Swedish comp / ETC rule set. And I wasn't a big fan of either one of those things because it seemed it was the reason why ETC and Swedish Comp was necessary is because the imbalances of the game. So if you're reworking the game, then why do you need these rebalancing tactics in order to make the game balanced? Shouldn't your game be balanced? Because shouldn't you know the inconsistencies of the game and the nuances that make it imbalanced? I mean, come on. I mean, why don't you just fix those things instead of trying to just turn it into something? I mean, they changed it too much. That's where I'm trying to get at, I guess. They changed the game too much. I was looking more of a tweaking. And you can change the fluff, and you can change the names of the armies and all that stuff, and still just tweak the rules a little bit. Because artistically, and we are talking about artistic content, artistically, you only have to change a product about 25% for it to become yours. That's why Games Workshop always used to have these rules where at tournaments and stuff, if you're bringing extra models, they need to be at least more than 25% Games Workshop, because any more than that, it's no longer their product. That's the legality of taking intellectual property. It has to change at least 25 to 30% in order for it to call it yours. It's one of the reasons why you have the Samsung and the Apple lawsuits went back and forth, because Samsung didn't change their intellectual property enough, and neither did Apple. They were both doing it to each other. And so neither one of them changed it enough in order for it to be their own. So that's what the problem was. All you have to do is find out the percentage of change that you need to go to make the rule set your own. You don't have to change dramatic parts of it. I mean, even looking through the Kings of War rulebook, there are a lot of things that are kind of Warhammer Fantasy-ish, even rules-wise, and it's changed just enough to where it's theirs. And I think I'm going to enjoy playing Kings of War. I'm still trying to get my head wrapped around the character aspect of it, and how the characters and how the leaders interact with the troops. I haven't gotten to that part of the book yet, but yeah. And the good thing about it is it's $20 for the rule book. So even if I never play it again, I didn't really seep that much money into it. Yeah. And I was looking at the another thing about I hate to keep going back to AOS and beating a dead horse, but another thing, I went to my local store and the AOS stuff was at 25% off, and the Warhammer stuff, the old fantasy Warhammer stuff, was at 10% off. So there's definitely a problem there with AOS, and and their sales model sucks. It sucks so terribly. I hate them. I hate Games Workshop, and I hate Games Workshop so much, and I hope everything bad that happens in the modeling industry happens to them and only them, because I hate them just that much. The hatred is deep. Hatred builds in my soul. Oh, I'm going off again. I'm sorry. Yes, but it should be fun to play Kings of War. Looks like it's going to be a real fun game to play. It would be great to get more than 3 games in a day. Did I mention I hate Games Workshop? I hate them that much. Just because of them, I can't get any more Blight Kings because I hate them so much. Yes. And and to ninth age people, why doesn't the ninth age add in the outline books, the books that were never released, the fan books? There's some great fan books out there, and it would actually add to the game, I believe, because it didn't make any sense to me. You have this giant world of fantasy, and you have all these different nations that are outside of the 16 regular ones, and they actually serve a purpose in the end time story, but it's just like they actually serve a purpose and have fluff in inside of everyone's fluff somewhere. But yet, at the end time, where everybody came together, those nations outside, they just didn't care. It was like, oh, the world's going to die? Oh, it doesn't affect us. What? that didn't make sense to me anyway. It was just something that came up. But, yeah. This is what you get when you buy a Battalion box set for Kings of War. That's a lot better than the one that you get for $100-something from Games Workshop, which equals out to about 800 points. This seems like that's a little more than 800 points, and you could probably play with that. And this is another box set. like this is probably 2 box sets together. That's amazing. I'm sorry. That's pretty darn cool if you ask me. And that's probably what everybody needs to do anyway. Stop breaking your bank to pay these guys to make them rich at Games Workshop. And these guys here are actually coming after your money. They want you to enjoy the game. But try it out, Kings of War. Do it.